Knowing how to properly calculate the reward-risk ratio for a trade is one thing that most traders don't even do. It is extremely important that the calculations are done correctly before you place your orders on the market. A miscalculation could put you into a trade where you are risking more than you can potentially win. Suppose you entered the trade with two equal positions and your stop loss was minus 50 pips. You close out first position for plus 50 pips and later close out the other position for plus 100 pips. The question is, what is the overall risk-reward ratio that you have achieved for the trade? If you've answered 3 to 1 reward-risk ratio, then unfortunately you are wrong. But how can that be? The reward was 150 pips versus the risk of 50 pips, so it must be 3 to 1. Well, here's the explanation. If both of your positions were closed out for 150 pips, then yes, it would have been 3 to 1. However, since you closed out one of the position for only 50 pips, you cannot just simply add them together. Take a look at this table where I've laid out the workings for this problem. On your first position, you risk 50 pips and your target was 50. Therefore, reward-risk ratio for that first position was only 1 to 1. On your second position, you made 100 pips, so the reward-risk ratio is 2 to 1. Now, this is where a lot of traders make the mistake. When they want to work out the overall reward-risk ratio for the trade, they simply just add up the pips that they gain under the target column without adding up the stop-loss column. So in their mind, they're thinking, I only risk 50 pips and I gain 150 pips, so that is a 3 to 1 gain. And you can see mathematically it's wrong. They risk 50 pips on each position and there were two positions. So in total, it was a 100 pips risk for 150 pips gain. So the correct answer is 1.5 to 1 and not 3 to 1. Please note that this specific example uses two equal positions. If your positions are of different size, then you would need to use some fraction. Use the calculator tool if you are not comfortable with doing this yourself. After a trade is closed out, you need to calculate the actual reward-risk ratio for the trade. This is to see how the result reflects with the trading plan. If you find that your trades are winning less than what the plan was, then it is recommended that you review your trading plan to find out why. For day traders on a small time frame such as 5 or 15 minutes, comparing final reward-risk ratio to your plan could also reveal if spreads are eating into your profits. I always calculate actual reward-risk ratio for my trades after all positions are closed. It's one of the requirements on my trading journal. Finally, after 9 chapters, we have come to the part that most traders would like to know the most. Profits can be taken in two logical ways. Number 1, at a fixed reward-risk ratio, such as 2 to 1 or 3 to 1. Number 2, when there is evidence from price actions which no longer support the analysis that led into the trade. I will talk about multiple targets towards the end because it is only suitable for traders that has a solid foundation of psychology and risk management already in place. By now, I hope you have realized that everything you do in trading must be based on mathematics. The same applies for profit targets. First thing to do is determine the minimum average reward-risk ratio that you must achieve in order to break even. This is because it sets the limit to how low you are willing to go when it comes to setting your target. Use the calculator tool and put in the percentage win rate of your particular strategy. If you are new to the strategy or if you have not been keeping stats, then choose any number between 40% and 50% as an estimate. You can always change this once you begin to have proper record keeping from your trading journal. Let me show you an example. Suppose I am trading a strategy that has a 40% win rate. Put that into the calculator and it tells me that in order to break even, which means making no money, I need to have a reward-risk ratio of 1.5. This means that my winners over the long term needs to be at least 1.5 times larger than my losers. If I can do that, then I would not be losing money. It also means that anything above 1.5 and I will be making profit. I find it very comforting to know this because I now know exactly the point where I will be making profits. So, knowing that with a 40% win rate, I must aim for at least 1.5 reward risk ratio in each trade. This is incredibly useful to know because it acts as a filter to stop me from entering trades where my analysis suggests that the possibility of making this minimum target is very low to unlikely. I will stay out of such trades simply because I know it is very unlikely for me to be profitable. While there is no upper limit to how high you can set your target profit, it is good to remember that it must be realistic. Setting a target of 10 to 1 at a level where price has not been to for the last 9 years is not being realistic at all. For beginners, it is recommended that you stick to only one target profit in order to save yourself from the psychological pain of winning. Yes, there is actually pain involved in winning. You don't hear it very often because most traders don't win enough to experience it. For some strategies, the profit target can be left open until an exit signal is observed. For example, I look at the Euro Japanese yen and see a pattern of higher highs and higher lows. My analysis says that this is an uptrend, and I found an opportunity to go long. In my trading plan, I don't necessarily have to have a particular target profit level, but I must have an exit plan. From price action, I know that a lower high or lower low could signal the end of an uptrend. Therefore, my exit signal will be when I see either one of the two. The advantage of this is that it allows me to continue growing my profits for as long as the uptrend continues. The disadvantage of this method is that by the time my exit signal comes along, I could end up with less profits than what could have been achieved with a fixed target profit level. As always, the best method is one where it takes into account risk exposure. Depending on your strategy and personality, one method might be the easier option. It might not be the most profitable option, but I would strongly recommend you take the easier option while keeping in mind the minimum target you must hit for you to be achieving break-even overall. Last but not least, onto the topic of setting multiple targets. You have seen earlier on that it is not as easy to work out overall reward-risk ratio for trades with multiple positions. The same can be said about having multiple targets. You must make sure that your calculations are spot on when it comes to the size of the position to exit at certain targets. Otherwise, it would affect your overall reward-risk ratio negatively. Without knowing the strategy that you are trading, I cannot give you an exact outline of what to recommend and what to avoid. That can only be done with a lot more information about your strategy. But I can say that you must rely on statistics to determine the suitability of your multiple targets. For example, if you notice that in your last 100 trades, none of them hit your second target, then it is reasonable to say that statistically, your second target is very unlikely to be hit, and perhaps you should consider taking profit at first target only.